Hi Paul, hope you're well and welcome to your lesson. So let's do a little bit of a comparison, a before and after right here. Now, one of the big things we were working on is basically your backswing, getting the club moving into a better position. So we've got before on the left, after on the right. And the big thing we identified is as you took this club back, we saw that lead wrist flatten off. That started the process of getting that club head under that shaft plane line, swing plane line. And then from there, we saw a chain reaction happen after that. Now we can see as you take it back, the club head is just outside your hand, somewhere in this circle. Hands are working back in a better position. They're not getting too disconnected away. They're nice in sort of one straight line. Now, if we take you back on the before, we take you back to left arm or lead arm parallel, we can see your shaft plane before pointed way outside of the ball. Here we can now see at lead arm parallel how this shaft plane points a lot more at the golf ball. So we're way more on plane right here, which is fantastic, which is exactly what we wanted to see as a byproduct of these changes. Now, as you then continue to the top of the backswing, we saw a couple of things here. The lead arm was lower than the trail shoulder right there, meaning that as you got to this position at the top, you got very, very stuck behind you. Now, if I also bring you all the way back to the address position and I draw a line on the front of the head, because of this, your body reacted and it fell forwards. So you see that it fell quite a bit forwards towards the ball right there. Now, if I do the same line here, just on the front of your head, just on the front of your head right here, and then take you all the way to the top. So we can see a couple of things. So we can still see a little bit of falling forwards there with the head, but nowhere near as much as before. And the second thing we can see is a very different top of backswing structure with regards to the arms. So we can see the lead arms running more through the shoulders. We've got a better depth situation. So you're on basically the heel line. You're not way behind the heel line. And just overall structure is just way better here at the top of the backswing. Now, before, as you would then come down to lead arm parallel, you can now see how that club head is starting to get a little stuck behind you and getting under the plane, versus here, as you come down, you're tracking more kind of level with the plane, so your shaft is a lot more level with the plane, or parallel to the plane, I should say, in a much better position. We bring you down to the delivery positions. Here you were getting quite stuck under. Here the club head's working through the plane line, which is much better, and you're sort of covering the golf ball a lot more. And as you now come down into impacts, you can see how before your shaft plane was a lot higher than the swing plane. This is very common in sort of push drawers patterns, but it can lead to, as we were seeing in your situation, kind of hooks and stuff like that. Here you can see the shaft plane is a lot closer to the actual swing plane at impact. This is a lot more neutral. It's going to produce more consistent ball flights. It's just going to be easier to control overall. And as you then exit on the way through, and as you exit on the way through here, very similar sort of exits, but we will see that the face just flips over here just a little bit more. I know this one's a bit blurry, but we would expect to see more of a stable release in this after. So as you can see, huge changes straight away. So massive changes, which is a good positive. Now, if we take a look at your setup positions, so we see, again, similar sort of body positions. We didn't talk about that last time. We didn't really go into too much detail on that, so we're not fussed about that. The thing that we spoke about was ball position. So ball position, like I was sort of saying last time, it's a spectrum, it's a zone. It's making sure that when we set up, we can put ourselves in the best possible positions to ensure sort of consistent ball striking. Now, what we saw before with yourself is when I drew this rectangle straight down from your sternum, is that the ball was just way too far back in your stance. And again, ball position should never be done with the feet. It should always be done with the upper body, because ball position is all to do with where we position the ball relative to low point and how that therefore affects club path, angle of attack, loft, things like that. Having the ball so far back here caused you to get into a situation to where you were catching the ball too much into out, and from there we were seeing a whole heap of different shots, versus now the ball's more forwards. We're giving you a little bit more time to square everything up, which is helping you just hit straighter shots, maybe even the odd fade, which is giving you higher ball flights, which I know was something you were struggling with, and overall just much better sort of results. Now, as we take this back all the way to the top, Not really expecting a huge amount of change here in terms of the backswing because we haven't really spoken about any body movements. But if we take you back on the before, we will see here as you get to the top, we can see that there is more so collapsing of that left leg forwards. That's going to be where we put our attention today. And that's just, remember, the reaction to you falling forwards during the backswing. You see the knee collapse forwards as well. Here, we see less of that with the knee. Again, we're going to be talking about that today. As you start down before and get into this sort of delivery position here, we can see how there's a lot of sort of lateral shift with the pelvis. Hands are stuck behind you a lot. Now we take a look at it and we see less of this sort of pelvis kicking forwards. So more of a neutral position. Hands are just, I know it's a little blurry, but just in line with the edge of the leg before they were stuck behind the leg. And then as you come into impact here versus here, you can see less tilt, which is great. Less tilt is always a positive when it comes to what you were doing before, which was, blocks and hooks. And now it's a lot easier to cover the golf ball. So overall, huge changes. Now, today we're going to make one very simple change. Now that change is all to do with how you are moving your sort of pressure in your lead foot during the backswing. Now, the lead foot, we know that the pressure is basically roughly on the balls of the feet at address in both our left foot and our right foot. Both feet, it's in the balls of the feet. Now, as we turn, the pressure does slightly shift, so it will sort of work on a slight diagonal. Only slight though. And this is where a lot of golfers go wrong. Is either you'll see one of two situations. Number one, golfers will fall back into their heels too much during the backswing. So as they go to the top, they sort of fall back into their heels. Now, you're not this situation. You're the opposite. In your situation, especially with your right foot, so your lead foot, you are falling too much into your toes. So you see how your toes there are really stressed. If you look at your shoe, you see how there's a crinkle happening right there by your toes. So that means that you're falling forwards too much into your toes rather than staying in the balls of your feet. Now, in order to help you fix that, I've got to give you a really simple and practical drill, which I have the best one for you. So what we're going to see is if we get this movement better and we get it just a little bit more solidified, the key thing we should see is, number one, that foot not come up. So the lead heel won't come up anywhere near as much. Number two, the lead knee won't kick out anywhere near as much. And number three, the head won't fall forwards anywhere near as much. Because right now you can see that heel comes off the ground slightly, the knee kicks forwards a lot, and the head moves forwards slightly. Definitely better than where it was last lesson, but today we're going to tune this up even more. If we take a look at this one here, again, you can see heels up, knees forwards, and then as a byproduct, you would be falling forwards this way. So let's keep the changes that we've done. We've got to keep working at that takeaway, keep ingraining it. Now we're going to deep dive into how your lead foot moves in the backswing to prevent you from falling forwards. Hi Paul, hope you're well and welcome to your lesson. So fantastic work in what we've done so far. We can see huge changes as outlined in the other video. Now, the key thing is as we progress, you've still got to monitor what we've done. So if at any point, as we are progressing to this next stage, you see your wrist set movement sort of go out to where that left wrist flattens, that lead wrist flattens and the club sort of rolls a little bit more flat, you need to stop what you're doing immediately and go back and fix the takeaway. The number one priority is the takeaway. The secondary priority is what we're doing today. Now, in your backswing, what you do is you collapse your lead foot forward. So a lot of your pressure goes into the toes. Now, often we see the best players in the world, and we see this very, very, very consistently. Their pressure is in the ball of the foot, not the toes. So essentially the ball of the foot is the front of the arch in your foot right there. Now, you, like a lot of amateurs, take this to the extreme. Hence why when you lift your heel off the ground, for more amateurs, it actually causes far more harm than actually helping them. So when you go into this position here, what it does is it pulls your body forwards. So we need to train this out of your body, because as soon as you start to go forwards, you've at some point then got to go away from the ball just to create space. Now, it's a really simple exercise. What you're going to do is, as you swing back and roughly get to around this takeaway position here, you are going to just lift your front toes up off the ground. Just gently, just lift sort of that front part of the foot off the ground, just in your lead foot, not your trail foot, just your lead foot. Take it back, lift your toes up there. Now, as you now come roughly to around left arm parallel, you're then going to tap it back down, and you're going to use that as your trigger to start your downswing. So you lift the toes up to during the takeaway. So at the end of the takeaway, you lift your toes up, you tap them back down, and when you tap them back down, that's the start of your downswing. So essentially, you want to feel like you lift and tap before you finish your backswing. Lift and tap before you finish your backswing. Now, don't be in a rush to sort of overly lift them too quickly. Let it just happen nice and smooth. So you can see as I do this, I lift those toes, I tap them down. I lift those toes, I tap them down. Now, because I'm physically lifting those toes, guess what I can't do? I can't collapse the knee forwards and fall forwards towards the ball. So this is what you do. Collapse it forwards here and then away. Very, very hard to control, very hard to move your body mass. Versus here, if I lift that lead toe and tap it during the backswing, so I go here, I lift, tap, and through, you can see how it keeps me away from the ball, meaning I've got so much more space in order to swing. So give that a go. Remember, number one priority is the lead, the takeaway. Then from there, the second priority is the lead foot.